All right, well, hello everyone. We're going to get started. I'm sure we'll have some people trickling in as we begin. Thank you very much for joining the Indonesian Peat Prize Process webinar. My name is Sada Negaline. I am one of the prize administrators. And my role is really to support you as potential entrants and registrants through the prize process. So today, we will be going over why the Peat Prize, a little bit more about the prize, and then we'll dig into the details of qualification criteria, registration criteria, talk to you a little bit more about the Scientific Advisory Board and their role, and then of course we'll go through the various prize phases and talk about next steps. At the end, there will be time for questions. So please, throughout the webinar, feel free to type in your questions into the chat. That is where we will collect questions and answer those at the end. So, why a prize? Currently, Indonesia's peat maps are not meeting the needs of the government to manage land use, and specifically at the site level. In particular, the Indonesian peat land maps currently don't have the right level of accuracy when it comes to peatland thickness. So our goal in conducting this prize is to support the Indonesian government in paving a way forward for more transparent land use management by developing a credible, more efficient method of mapping Indonesia's peatlands. So a little bit more about the prize. The methodologies will be evaluated on three main criteria. Timeliness, so how quickly does your methodology map? Accuracy, what is the level of accuracy you are able to achieve? And affordability, on a per unit measurement, what is the affordability of your methodology? And then all of that will be considered on the fourth set of criteria, and that is scalability. How can this methodology or solution be applied across the archipelago in Indonesia to measure Indonesia's peatlands? So, getting into the details of the qualification criteria. This is the criteria that right now we are in the qualification and registration phase, and this qualification criteria is used to determine who will compete. So as you're filling out that form online, this is the criteria that the Scientific Advisory Board will be looking at to determine which teams move forward to compete and test their methodologies on the first test site. So first and foremost, in order to compete, you must be Indonesian or have an Indonesian partner. We'll have more information later on in the webinar about how we as prize administrators are here to support that. And then in terms of the solution, first and foremost, your solution must measure peatland and extent. That is the most important thing that we are looking for out of a mapping methodology or technology. We ask that it be grounded in published, verified, and public research. And then when you are submitting your solution for review, we're asking for a few key pieces of information, of data. So what are the expected peatland properties that your solution is capable of measuring, in addition to peatland thickness and extent? What proof do you have of the ability of your methodology to create a map of the scale of 1 to 50,000? This is very important. This gets at that accuracy piece that the Scientific Advisory Board will be looking at, the scale of 1 to 50,000. And then, of course, what is past accuracy? What past accuracy data do you have for the properties such as peat thickness and extent, but also what other properties is your method expected to measure? That is nice to have, it's not a need to have, but that additional information of what your methodology can measure will be helpful. But again, emphasizing that peat thickness and extent is first and foremost what we're looking for in the criteria. And then, of course, the cost of the solution per unit area. There you'll see a question on that on the registration form. So looking a little bit more at what we're asking you to provide in this phase of registration and qualification. Each registration must include a brief biography of each of the team members that will be participating in the competition, as well as a summary of your solution and what you plan to test. This will include providing evidence on the viability of your method and its readiness for testing beginning in June of this year. Some entrants will have methods that are ready to test. Other entrants may have a prototype or a plan for a prototype that will be ready by June. That is acceptable as well. Just making sure that you provide sufficient information on your methodology and the viability of it being test ready by June of this year. And then, of course, we are asking that you identify if you're looking for additional funding support. We do have a small amount of scholarship money available for entrants. So you'll see a question about that on the form. And we ask that you provide that information now. And then, of course, we want you to respond to all the required questions. The online form will not let you submit without answering all the required questions. And as we get to the review phase, there may be additional information that is needed, that is requested from the Scientific Advisory Board. So as part of the registration, you agree to be contacted for any of that follow-up information. So I've talked a lot about the Scientific Advisory Board. Let's talk a little bit more about their role in the prize and the importance of their role in the prize. So the Scientific Advisory Board, or the SAB, as you'll see abbreviated on the website and in this presentation, the SAB consists of peatland and mapping experts from Indonesia and around the world. Their role really is to act as prize judges and ensure that the prize outcome is credible and unbiased. So they will validate submissions throughout the prize phases. They will read and evaluate your entries using a prize scorecard that the prize administrators that we will provide to them. And they will also advise the prize team on technical questions as they arise. I want to note that the SAB has agreed to hold all prize information in confidence. And so it is discouraged to contact any of the SAB directly about any information related to the prize. Any questions about the prize, data, site information that you might have, you should direct those questions to us, the prize administrators, via the website and info@indonesianpeatprize.com. And then one final note around the SAB, they are participating throughout the prize, so starting now and through 2017, through the various phases of the prize. So here's a list of our SAB members. The two co-chairs lead the group, and there are 4 Indonesian SAB members and 3 international. We will have more information on the SAB members shortly. We'll be posting bios to the website so that you can have more information on the individuals that will be acting as judges in the prize. So now we're going to get into the various prize phases. As I said, currently we are in the registration and qualification phase. This is the time when you are gathering information, putting together your teams, and really when the prize administrators, we are here to support you in achieving clarity around those requirements, as well as helping you find co-entrants if you are in need of that. So I'm just going to walk quickly through the registration process. Some of you participating today have already registered, so you're familiar with this. But for others, this will be new. So to register, you go to indonesianpeatprize.com, and right on the home page there on the upper right-hand corner, you'd click on Enter Now. That will take you to the registration page. This is just basic information that you provide to start your account and receive your login credentials. So once you fill out this registration form, a temporary password will be emailed to you, and then you can use that password to log into the site. And once you log in to the registration form, you can see on the upper left-hand corner you have an opportunity to change your password to something that will be easier for you to remember. A very important note on the registration and qualification form: all applications must be submitted in English. This is important because the SAB, the Scientific Advisory Board, is an international entity, and the language that they will be using to evaluate and review applications is English. So I did mention a couple times around the co-entrant piece. So if you are a non-Indonesian and you are seeking an Indonesian co-entrant, a partner, we, the prize administrators, are here to help identify potential partners for you so that you can move forward in the prize competition. We do also have individuals who have signed up. That's fine, but we also strongly encourage you to try to find that team for your registration. But again, if you need any help in identifying potential co-entrants, we, the prize administrators, are here to help support you in that so that you are able to enter as a qualified registrant and hopefully be able to compete. So if you have any specific expertise that you're looking for in a partner, please let us know and email that information to myself, Sada, at IndonesianPeatPrize.com, or my colleague in Jakarta in Indonesia, Idaya, at IndonesianPeatPrize.com, and we will get back to you with next steps. So once you've filled out your registration and qualification form, you've submitted it, the SAB will review the submissions to identify those entrants that are qualified to move forward and compete. Once you're deemed a qualified entrant, you will have the opportunity to test your methodology on the first test site. The first test site period is a full year. It starts this summer in June of 2016 and goes through June of 2017. Important to note, during this first testing phase of the solution development, all teams will receive ground truthing data to calibrate your solution, your methodology on the test site. At the end of the solution development testing period, you will submit your results. Those results will be reviewed by the Scientific Advisory Board, and they will make a recommendation as to the finalists that move forward to the next phase. So here's just a slide summarizing those points. The first test site will be announced only to the qualified entrants. Those qualified entrants will have an opportunity to test their method on that site for 1 year, and the ground truthing data will be given to those qualified entrants in order so that they can calibrate their methodology. So at the end of that test period, the first solution development test period, you've submitted your data. The SAB has selected the finalists to move forward based on the criteria of cost effectiveness, accuracy, and efficient, and cost effectiveness, accuracy, and timeliness. Forgive me. And so if you're deemed as a finalist, it means that you've met those 3 criteria, and you are moving forward to the second test site, which is a demonstration test site. This second site will be announced to the finalists only. And very important here, the second test site is a blind test. So the finalists will not be provided with ground truthing data. You will have to test and calibrate your data without that ground truthing provided to you. So I'll just back up one more thing on the demonstration testing. So at the end of that, you'll submit your results. And again, the SAB will review your results, and they will make their final recommendation as to who the winner of the Indonesian Peat Prize will be. And that will be in the fall of 2017. So very simple next steps here. We will be releasing the official rules shortly at the end of April. And the registration submission deadline is May 11th, midnight Jakarta time. That is important. So the deadline again for submissions for applications is May 11th, midnight Jakarta time. And now we'll open it up for questions. And of course, if you have any questions after this webinar, please feel free to email myself or Idaya at indonesianpeatprize.com. We have recorded this webinar, and we will make it available on the website so that you can share with your team members or anyone that you think would be interested in learning more about the prize. We will send out an email with a link to the recording of this webinar. Well, if there are no questions, I'll just give it a couple more minutes here in case anyone has anything they want to type into the chat. And of course, like I said, please feel free to email us. Oh. So a question around the scholarship. Does the supporter scholarship support also preliminary field activities? So the scholarships that are available will be made available to teams for the solution development phase. So as soon as we are able to disperse those scholarships, you can use them for that first testing period, if I'm understanding the question correctly. Another question around the scholarship. Does the scholarship support manpower costs as well? So the scholarship is meant to support you and your team during that first testing period during the prize process. So if that includes helping get your team to the test site or ensuring that you have the right people on your team, the scholarship will be there to support you in that testing process. Okay, well, it looks like that might be all the questions for today. Oh, one more, good. So in the cost per unit, should we include all the forecasted costs of field activities? Yes, so we want, as accurate as you can be, provide an estimate of the cost of testing your methodology. There'll be more, if you are deemed eligible, there will be other opportunities to get more precise and exacting around the cost of your method in particular. But at this stage, please include the cost per unit based on those field activities. The next question, what kind of data is going to be used to judge the accuracy of the proposed methodology? Is that ground truth data taken by the prize host? So the first piece, the accuracy data is being provided by our prize host, BIG, and the most important piece there in terms of accuracy is the scale of 1 to 50,000. That is what we'll be looking for in terms of accuracy. And as far as the kinds of data, we'll have more information on that once the qualified entrants are identified. And the second part of that question around the ground truthing data, yes, the ground truthing data is being provided by BIG, which is the prize host. The next question is, when are the results going to be announced? So for this phase, once the qualified entrants have been identified, those qualified entrants will be announced on the Indonesian Peat Prize website at the beginning of June. Then they'll have a year to test, and when we identify the finalists, those will be announced on the website in July of 2017. And then the winner of the Indonesian Peat Prize will be announced in October of 2017. I'm just going to give it a couple more minutes to see if anyone else is typing in any questions. Okay, well, I think those are all the questions for today. Thank you all so much for joining this webinar. Again, please feel free to reach out to us with any additional questions you might have. We're here to support you through this process. And thank you again. Have a great day.